Hi, I'm Molly.
And I'm Jamie, and this is our From the Pasture with Hired Hand podcast. As the owners of Hired Hand website software, we've been developing websites and creating internet marketing strategies for livestock breeders for the past 10 years.
The majority of our customers are involved in the breeding of registered animals, such as Texas Longhorns, Highland cattle, horses, and white-tailed deer, where the pedigrees are very important. The From the Pasture with Hired Hand podcast examines many of the differences in raising pedigreed livestock for maximum profit. Join us and learn what we're covering today.
Today I'm joined with Gordon Howie of Holy Cow Longhorns from Rapid City, South Dakota. Thanks for joining me, Gordon.
Hey, it's great to be with you, Molly.
So I was reading on your website as I was preparing for today, and I saw a line that I really liked. You were explaining on your homepage that Texas Longhorn cattle are becoming more and more popular in the Midwest, and you say that all you have to do is see them to fall in love with them, which I really liked. But go ahead and tell us a little bit about the first time you saw a Longhorn and what exactly got you hooked and how you got started.
Well, Molly, I am an avid hunter, and a lot of it's been done with family. And we happened to be hunting at a place in Texas, and across the 4-wire barbed wire fence, I noticed these Longhorn steers. Now, looking back in time, they weren't even all that spectacular. I mean, compared to what we have today. But I was immediately smitten and made up my mind on the spot, I'm going to have some of those. And my wife and I have been involved in ranching. Actually, I come from an ag background, but we've owned commercial herd of cattle. We've raised registered Angus cattle and had an annual bull sale. I think at one point we even had a herd of about 300 buffalo. So we kind of run the gamut. But when I saw Longhorns, it was just all over for me. I mean, all I had to do was see one. That's when people ask me why Longhorns, I just simply say because I saw one. So I made up my mind I was going to own some Longhorns. I didn't realize it was going to be this exclusive. That's all we do now is registered Texas Longhorns. But we started, there was an auction, dispersal auction of a family that owned a few Longhorns, and they were just Longhorns. But I went and bought 3 or 4 bred females, and I was, because I was just excited and wanted to get started. Well, then the next thing you need, if you have cows, is you have to have a bull, unless you're going to AI and do some of that. So I started a search for a bull, and as I perused the internet and did my due diligence and looking for a bull, I stumbled upon a bull named Wyoming Warpaint. I suppose people who are listening to this who have been involved in Longhorns for a long time recognize that name. He was the longest total horn bull in the world for years after year after year. And I think in his day, he was like 104 inches total horn. Now today, you have to be that tip to tip. But I called the folks who owned him, the Rombeck family. Eventually, I ended up being a partner with them in that bull. But at that time, they had a yearling bull that was a son of Warpaint. And so I made a deal to buy that bull, who went on to win his class in the Horn Showcase that year. And in that process, I also ended up buying a semi-load of Longhorn females. So my first meeting with Justin was when he delivered that that yearling bull and the semi-load of Longhorns to my ranch. He was driving his pickup, leading a semi truck, and I'll never forget the day we unloaded those Longhorns. It was quite an event for us, and that changed my life forever.
It sounds pretty magical how you describe it. How many years ago was that you were just getting started purchasing that yearling bull and the semi-load of cows then?
You know, I'm a little uncertain, but I think it was probably approaching 20 years. It's been a long time. I'd have to go back and search my financial archives to remember the check I wrote and the day we unloaded.
Well, 20 years is a long time. That makes you, almost a senior of knowledge and a breeder in the industry. Talk us through kind of some of the lessons you've learned along the way. Talk us through how your program has changed over those 20 years, because I would imagine you have some great insight and also some great stories.
Well, one of the things that I would say that has been significant in the evolution of our program is that, life changes for us every year. And I'll be 75 years old in a few weeks. So when I got into Longhorns, from my perch today, I was a pretty young man back then. One of the things that slowed my progress down was all of the other things that I was involved in. I was, during that time, I served in the state House of Representatives, the state Senate, and ran for governor, and the personal cost of time, energy, and money being involved in the political arena took its toll on my Longhorn program, simply because I was away from home and not paying attention to, I wasn't a full-time Longhorn producer in the sense that I was out checking cows every morning. I had to be in the state capitol every morning during the session. And so I missed out on a lot, and it slowed down my progression. Now, I've thankfully stepped out of the political arena. And for the last 10 years or so, I've been able to focus more diligently on my Longhorn herd. So we've begun in the last few years doing embryo work and really focusing on the things about our program that are important to us.
So tell me some about your embryo work. What types of matings are you working on? What is your breeding strategy focused on for today's market? Let's talk through some of those details.
We're really excited. I think we've been working on our embryo program for 6 or 8 years, and we started relatively slow and kind of worked our way into it. But this year, in fact, within 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to have animals hitting the ground from that will be the product of mating from renowned bulls like Kid Rock and Rebel HR, along with our donor cows, Cherry Jubilee and a clone of Shadow Jubilee, both of whom are not far from being 100-inch tip-to-tip cows. So they're really wonderful, full-bodied cows, lots of horn. I can't tell you what their total horn is because they have beautiful rolling handlebar horns, but we've mated them with bulls like Kid Rock and Rebel. So we are just like about as excited as we can be to see those calves. We've got some heifers. I think we have 3 full sibling heifers from MC Hangin' Tough, who we mated with a cow we call Wallflower, who was, I think she's got 104 or 106 inches of total horn, and I can't recall her tip to tip right now, but she's a big, beautiful, magnificent cow, and we're pretty excited. A couple of those heifers are just really standout heifers. So that's a short story on what we're doing right now. Last year we did some AI work with a host of different bulls, Rural Safari Sun, Houdini, and some Kid Rock. We also used a bull, Mr. Big Stuff, which a lot of producers are familiar with. He's the sire of Kid Rock. So we'll see in the next couple of weeks what the results of those AI efforts are. So that's a little bit of our current program with AI and embryo work.
So you touched a little bit on some of the maternal traits that some of those cows you listed have. What sort of traits from the sires are you hoping get brought into your program that maybe, you think will be a good cross for those maternal lines?
Well, the wonderful thing about Longhorns is there is literally something for everyone. I have friends who are focused, their number one priority is their beef market. And other friends who their number one priority is the show circuit. Then there are people who their primary focus is color. Then there are lots of people whose primary focus is horn. Our program, the significant issues for us, we want horn, color, and conformation. So when we look at bulls, I look at the size of the bull, the color of the bull, and I look at the progeny that a particular bull has in his records. And obviously we look at horn. So any one of those things could eliminate a bull from being part of our program.
And have you always used AI as kind of the way to take the program forward? Or are there bulls that you have owned or leased over the years that you feel like have done, a great service to your herd?
We haven't really done a lot of AI with Longhorns. I'm actually AI certified, so I can, I understand the process and I've got the equipment and I can do it. Although when you're spending several $100s for semen, my personal preference is to hire somebody who does it every day rather than me who does it infrequently. So AI is hasn't been one of our mainstays. We did more AI last year than I think we've ever done. But we've focused primarily on just getting the best quality bull that we could find within our budget. One of the bulls that is a real standout in our program was Top Hand. And he gave us some spectacular daughters. And so now, even though Top Hand is gone, we've got his daughters now that we're mating with. Actually, we're going to be mating them with our newest herd sire, who is Del Charo. And he is a bull of some notoriety as well. He's about 92 inches tip to tip. He's, I believe, the most complete bull that we've ever owned. So we're excited about him. Putting him on our top hand daughters brings in some cowboy tough checks, which we don't have a lot of in our herd. So we're excited about that. We'll see next year how that works for us.
Well, speaking of next year, let's look ahead even a little further and kind of say the next 5 years or so. When you look that far ahead, what are your plans for your breeding program, or where do you hope that you've reached or obtained by then?
Well, we at one time, I think we had probably 100 or 150 registered Texas Longhorn females. We've pared that down quite a bit. I think we've got 60 some now. And where I'm heading is we're going to continue to reduce our numbers and increase the quality. Now, when I say reduce the numbers, my wife continues to ask me, well, then why did you just buy those 3 cows if you're trying to reduce the number of your herd? Well, my only defense is it's an addiction, and I'm probably going to just keep doing it. But we are heading toward a program with 10 or 15 significant donor cows. And when I say significant, I mean they will have to meet the criteria for our program of having exceptional horn, very good body and good conformation, and they'll have to either have color or be able to produce color. So that's the direction that we're going with our program. And you know, I tell people the Longhorn business isn't like the cattle business. You don't generally sell a semi-load of Longhorns. It's more like the racehorse business. You'll sell 1, maybe 2 at a time. It's unusual. You know, we have people come and they leave with a trailer full, but it's more like selling racehorses. Everybody's after the fastest horse. Well, in Longhorns, people are looking for the most horn, the most beautiful color, and the best conformation. So it's everyone is different.
I like that comparison. That's a good way to look at that situation. So I guess one question that I thought of while you were speaking, you know, having used and continue to using a lot of donor cows, you know, to do a lot of embryo work and that sort of stuff, do you have to take anything into special consideration or maybe change the plan according to the weather and where you live in South Dakota that maybe, you know, a breeder in Texas doing the same thing really doesn't have to account for?
Well, that's a good point. And let me just, while I'm thinking of it, say that not all of our embryo program revolves around our cows and our bulls or other people's bulls. We've recently purchased some embryos, just a small number of them, but one of them will be a full sibling to Houdini. So we're not opposed to bring other people's genetics. When they're hitting a home run, we want to be in the stands cheering with them, but we don't mind being in the dugout with them. Your question regarding weather constraints, that is a significant thing. We in the North Country, I don't know if everyone calls South Dakota the North Country, but if you're in Texas, this is North Country. Weather is important, and so for our embryo work, we need to have I'll say a controlled environment. The cows could be outside and all of that, but when you're doing the flush or the IVF procedure, you need to be inside of a building where you can manage the temperature, and you have a situation where the wind isn't blowing dirt and dust and all kinds of things. It has to be a controlled environment. So we've got an enclosed barn facility where we can do that. And some people ship their animals off to a facility in South Dakota. Our practice has been, we do all the setup work. We'll do the all of the preparation, and then the technician comes, or the vet comes and does the procedure on the day designated. But we do everything to set them up, and then we move them into our Longhorn chute, and it's in a controlled environment. We don't do it during the winter time, though. Generally, we'll do that procedure in, I'm going to say, spring to summer.
So do you have to take into account the weather as well when you're purchasing bred females? Or if you like the animal, regardless of when she might calf, is she going to come home with you and you just make accommodations in that way?
We make it a practice not to bring animals from the southern states during the late summer or fall, because they wouldn't be acclimated. If we buy something, we would in the fall, we would make a deal to leave them where they are and bring them home in the spring. Let them have all summer and fall to acclimate to South Dakota, and that's been pretty successful for us. But if you bring something from Texas in November or December, you're just asking for a train wreck, in my opinion.
That makes sense. Nobody likes the snow and cold, right?
Oh, Lord. And I tell people, if I weren't a South Dakotan, I'd be a Texan, because I love the state. But South Dakota, it's the price we pay. We just have to put up with the winters.
Well, looking again at how you've been involved for, around or over 20 years, if you look back at just some of the lessons you've learned, or maybe some things you've stumbled upon along the way, what's some advice you would have for folks listening to this podcast who maybe are just thinking of purchasing their first Longhorns, or maybe they've been in it a year or two and aren't sure what direction to go?
Well, it's the Longhorn business is a wonderful adventure. But I see people at times getting into it, and they fall in love with Longhorns just like I did. And they end up buying, let's say they've got a place where, I think I heard one time that the average size of the Longhorn herd across the country is 10 females. So what that tells me, there are lots of larger breeders, but there are a lot of people who are getting in, and they've only got room for maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 or 6 Longhorns. And they see one that's spotted up and beautiful, and they don't look at things like their feet or their udder or their horn or their pedigree, and they just fall in love. It's like proposing on your first date. It probably isn't the smartest thing most people do. So my advice would be, take your time, do your due diligence. And a wise old cattleman told me when I was getting started in registered Angus, buy half as many and buy them twice as good. And he was just simply saying, don't buy the first cow that comes through the ring. If you've got a budget of let's just say you got a budget of $2,000 on a cow. Well, or that's the money you have to spend. Don't buy 2 cows, buy 1 cow, or maybe stretch it a little and spend $3,000, but still just buy 1 cow. Buy better quality and fewer animals. That's I think rule number 1. And the second rule would be make friends with people who are top producers in the industry. Get to know them and listen to what they say and watch what they do. And I suppose above all is know what your objective is. If you just want some pasture art and you don't plan to use Longhorns as a business, if you don't expect them to return anything on your investment, well, then maybe it doesn't matter so much. But if you're looking at it from a business perspective, treat it like a business. Know what you're doing. Do your research and just do it first class.
So a couple of things you mentioned, doing your due diligence, and then, making friends or, finding more experienced breeders to, learn from. I would imagine that the way that you do research or the way that you've met people 20 years ago has changed quite a bit, up till today. Talk me through some of those changes and some of the ways that, you found to do research successfully and meet people successfully in today's, industry.
One of my favorite tools in the business is the Gallery of Horns website, Arrowhead Cattle Company. They've done a marvelous job of listing bulls and females, I think even steers. But you can, it provides so much data, and there's nothing like seeing an animal in person, but most of us don't have the luxury of spending 6 months traveling the country looking at longhorn herds. So sites like Arrowhead Cattle Company bring it all together, and you can see a lot of different breeders' programs. And every animal, nearly every animal on that site will also give you the link to the breeder's website. So you can go on the website, their website, and look. Let me ask you, Molly, I should know this because I'm a hired hand customer. Where would I find a list of hired hand websites?
Yeah, so on our website, we do have a customers page, that links out to everyone who uses our system. But I think most folks are like you, where, you maybe go to Gallery of Horns and start on one animal or one bull, or, and before you know it, you're knee deep in his progeny, and you make a few clicks there and you end up on a breeder's site you maybe didn't know about, or found an animal you didn't know about. So I think finding our sites are a lot more popular that way.
One other thing I would say, going back to your question, advice to new breeders, if you're going to market your Longhorns, bite the bullet and step up and get a hired hand website. I have personally the ability to create a website. It's not really that tough if you go on GoDaddy and get your domain name and all that. And I have done that for years, and I've done multiple websites from multiple enterprises. But hired hand does a much more professional, proficient job of enabling me to market my cattle and display my cattle, showcase my cattle. It is consumer friendly. It's not terribly expensive. If somebody's serious about the Longhorn business, and even if you have only 5 or 6 animals, if you're going to make them better and add value You need to be, if you owned Kid Rock, it doesn't matter if no one knows about it. It doesn't do you any good if no one realizes that Kid Rock exists, or that you own him, or that you're offering progeny or semen or whatever. So you have to spend a little bit of money to get yourself out there. And Hired Hand does an excellent job. And I'm not trying to kiss up to you because we're doing this podcast. I did my own website for a long time, and it was okay, but Hired Hand helped me ramp up my game. So that'd be one more thing I'd tell people who are getting started in the business.
Well, that means a lot, Gordon. And you know, I feel like you and I have had a lot of conversations over the years about both our websites and Hired Hand Live. And you're right. You did hold out for a long time and we talked about it. We talked about it a lot. So I'm glad that you're happy with your decision now that you've had it for a few years.
Yeah, it's been great.
Love what you're hearing? Be sure to check out our Pickup Truck Confessions.
It's a video series where we hop in the truck or rental car and interview a variety of breeders about what drives their passion for their livestock, how they got started in the breed of their choice, marketing tips, and more.
And now, back to the podcast.
Well, let me put you on the spot here a little bit more. Let's talk about Longhorns just in general. So who would your all-time favorite Longhorn cow be, dead or alive, your herd or a different herd? You can only pick one.
Longhorn cow or just Longhorn period?
Let's do cow first. Let's do Longhorn female first.
Okay. I'll preface it by saying she wasn't the best to ever set foot on the planet, but I believe as I'm doing this podcast, I'm looking at her on my wall, and her name is Redmond Five's Legacy, and she has beautiful, incredible. I mean, even the color of her horns, they're almost a paint they're dark with white splotches in them. She's just a spectacular animal. Beautiful rolling handlebar twist. And I think when she died, she was like 87 and a half or 87 and 3/4 inch tip to tip. So, you know, she doesn't make the 100-inch category. But she was, I believe she'd be my favorite all-time Longhorn cow, just because she was just gentle to be around. She was, for us at the time we were able to acquire her, she was a game changer. And actually, she was our first donor. The oldest embryo animal that we have on the ranch is her daughter by Top Hand, who is absolutely one of my favorites. But the short answer would be Redmond Five's Legacy.
What about all-time favorite Longhorn bull?
On our website, by the way.
Perfect. What if you had to pick your favorite all-time Longhorn bull?
Well, again, it would be one in my herd, and that would be Top Hand. Again, if you were comparing him today, he had a nasty habit of rubbing the tips off his horns. As a youngster, he broke about 6 or 7 inches on both sides of his horn. But he brought genetics to our program. His tip to tip would have been in the mid to upper 90s, which was really pretty astonishing for a bull in his era. He was at the top of the game, and a spectacular color, wonderful disposition, and he just produced daughters that have really been very productive. One that comes to mind is I believe her name is Shy Hand, who produced Spokesman, and he came out of the Dickinson program. He's a combination of, or a blend of, Top Caliber and Jamaicism. He would be my favorite bull. Now, there are better bulls around today, but Top Hand for us was a game changer.
And do you still have him listed on your website as well?
He is a reference sire on our website, and if you look at our pedigrees, you'll see a number of Top Hand daughters and granddaughters that are still in our program.
So is there a Longhorn breeder? I mean, maybe it's even someone that's not in business anymore, just because you've been involved in the breed for so long, you may know, a lot of folks like that. But is there a Longhorn breeder that when you think of them, you just kind of think that they epitomize, what you hope for your herd to be, or kind of what a Longhorn breeder, should be with their herd?
Well, when there are actually, it'd be hard for me to name just one, and even if I give you several names, I'll be leaving out some people. But Justin Rombeck is one of the people that come to mind. I've known Justin and his family. I kind of feel like they're part of my family just because we've had such a long relationship. We've owned several partnership cows together. I was a partner with them in Wyoming War Paint. And as I've told you, I really got my first significant Longhorn injection from the Rombeck family. From the first time I met Justin, it was obvious that he has more Longhorn knowledge between his ears than most people have in their computers. He's just a wealth of knowledge. And so his friendship and I've enjoyed watching his success. I mean, how many people put together a sale where you sell a $800,000 Longhorn cow? Not too many. So Justin is one of the people that come to mind. A couple more guys that come to mind are Kent Harrell and Dean Whitlock. Recently, in addition to buying some Kid Rock semen, and they're also partners in Rebel, and we use some Rebel semen in partnership with the guy. But I want to just say that in dealing with them, I was able to acquire Del Charo, who is like I said, the most complete bull that we've ever owned, and I admire their program or their programs. But I want to just tell you that Dean Whitlock is an example of what a Longhorn producer should be when it comes to working with other producers who aren't at the level that they're at. I mean, good grief, they've got one of the most powerful programs around. But as I've dealt with Dean Whitlock, and I've interacted with Kent Harrell as well, but most of my interaction was with Dean as I was negotiating to buy Del Charo. Dean is a stand-up guy. He will do what he tells you he's going to do, but then he will do above and beyond that. He exceeds expectations on every level when I've dealt with him. So I would say their programs are really exemplary for the Longhorn business. Another guy that I've had some dealing with, and actually Justin was kind of in the middle of that, but Richard Phillip. I was able to negotiate a deal to buy our two significant embryo donors from Richard, Cherry Jubilee and the Shadow Jubilee clone. So that's a few of the people, and I mean there are lots of others. I would mention Joe Sidlasic was instrumental in us acquiring not only Redmond Five's legacy, but also Top Hand. So I could blather on for a long time on the wonderful people in this business, but there's a few of them.
Well, I'm sure they'll be very flattered to hear that you mentioned them, and also a few of them, or at least two of them. Again, great examples of breeders who are located outside of Texas, not necessarily in the Midwest or close to you, but not where you would typically find them, I guess.
Yeah.
So let's switch gears a little bit. I don't know how many of our listeners know or, have maybe experienced it before, but you're responsible for putting on a couple of sales in South Dakota to try to help, a lot of the regional breeders out there. And then, the past few years, we've also been trying to get, more breeders involved nationally. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about your sales and, what made you start them, kind of what you see for the future with those?
After a number of years of having Longhorn World Qualifying shows, which I basically initiated to just begin getting some exposure for the breed, I began to work with Scott and Jody O'Brien, and we decided that it was time to have a sale and try and build more of a market. So together with them, we started the Top Hand sale. We've done that for several years. Now, last year was my last year of involvement with the Top Hand sale. I stepped aside from that. Scott and Jody are going to continue on. Their sale will be during the Central States Fair in late August of this year, and I believe Hired Hand is going to be on site again to do that. And I'll be around, but I stepped aside from being involved in that sale. I want to focus more on my own program, on my embryo work. Then a few years ago, I started a virtual sale at the Black Hill Stock Show in February. We've done, I don't know if we've done 3 or 4 years of that, but I'll just be candid and say I haven't been real excited about the results. It's the time of year creates some challenges, and so I don't believe I'm going to be doing that sale again. What I am working on is a different kind of promotion for Longhorns during the Black Hill Stock Show in February. My hope is, and I'm working with the president of the Black Hill Stock Show to have a display pen of Longhorns physically at the stock show. And at this moment, my expectation is I would take Del Charo, maybe one of my donor cows, or a pen of fancy calves or something, so that people, I mean, there are, I don't know, 160 or 80,000 people that come to that stock show. I want to expose Longhorn cattle to that group. I mean, it's ranchers from the entire Midwest come to that stock show. I want them to see the Longhorns of today. And then at that display pen, I would plan to physically be there and have a big screen with animals scrolling on the screen from our program and programs across the country. I love to promote other people's programs. I think there's room in this business for all of us. So I would hope that we'd be able to accomplish that objective at the stock show, have really incredible Longhorns on display, and then also be able to promote other people's programs along with mine and let people see what really the Longhorn world has to offer these days.
Well, that sounds promising. Do you still attend some of the sales and some of the events outside of Texas? Are there any events that you're going to be at in person coming up? I'm sorry, outside of South Dakota, I meant.
Well, I'd like to go to one of Dan Huntington's events in Wisconsin. I've never been to one of those yet, and so that's on my bucket list for this year. I've been to multiple Horn Showcase sales and shows, and I'd like to do that again this year. I'd like to, I think the first sale that Justin Rombeck ever did, I attended that, but that's been years and years ago. I haven't yet been to one of his Legends sales, and so that's on my bucket list for this year. I've been to the Legacy sale in Texas. That was a wonderful experience. I'd recommend that to anybody who wants to see world-class Longhorns and see them at a world-class event. That's another great one. There are some really good sales around the country. And one of the nice things about going to those sales is the new friends you make and the networking with other producers. So those are a few on my bucket list for this year, Molly.
Well, that's a pretty good bucket list. I think you'd coming from my mom being from Wisconsin and stuff. I think you'd especially enjoy that sale. That's a nice part of the country, nice time of year, good people. So. Well, let's kind of end with a piece of advice here. Hopefully we have some listeners from South Dakota, paying attention. Maybe they've thought about getting into Longhorns. What would you say to, people within your region specifically if they were interested in getting started?
Well, the first thing I would say, you should join the Texas Longhorn Breeders Association of America, the TLBAA. If you're going to be in the registered business. I've belonged to both organizations, and I won't disparage either of them, but I'll just say my personal choice is the TLBAA. I love the monthly magazine or the Trails magazine that I get. It keeps me informed, and it's a quality production. So join the TLBAA. And then join the TLBAA affiliate in this region, the Great Plains Texas Longhorn Association, who also, the Great Plains has a hired hand website, but we work on promoting producers and the breed in our region. And we have members from across the country, but those are two things that a new breeder should do. Just if you're serious about it, you need to be networking with other people. Then I'd recommend that you get on social media. A number of years ago, I started a social media site called Longhorn News and Market. I started it basically promoting other people's Longhorns, and it's grown to where it's 8,500 or 9,000 members, and it will provide information, give you the opportunity to see what other people are producing, what they're selling, and keep you informed on upcoming sales and that sort of thing. It's a Facebook page. I would recommend that you get on social media and start participating. Networking with people is really a powerful part of this business. Can I just add one little, I think it's kind of a humorous story before we go?
Of course.
I have one friend in particular that we connect by phone generally every week or so. and our relationship is there's a lot of laughter. Well, I had offered a Longhorn opportunity for him, and I think I was asking something like $2,800 or so. Well, he offered me $2,200, and I countered at $2,500, and or no, something like that. Maybe I countered at $2,600, and so he accepted it and made the purchase at, I think it was $2,500. And after we had sealed the deal, I said, I just want to tell you that I would have taken $2,200. And his response was quick, and he said, well, I just want you to know I would have paid $2,800. So, when you're marketing Longhorns, you might as well have some fun with people and enjoy yourself. If it's not fun, you shouldn't probably even do it.
Well, that's great advice. And I would hope that anyone listening, whether they're in South Dakota or not, if they want to speak with you, they can go ahead and reach out either through your phone number that's on your website or your email. And I know you'd be happy to help them as well, Gordon.
I'm always happy to visit about Longhorns, and I love to help people. And what I've learned is the more you help other people, the more good things seem to happen to you. So it's a wonderful world when you really just try to bless your fellow man.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And we'll link all the folks you mentioned and your website and your Facebook page and everything in our show notes for folks.
All right. Thanks so much for the opportunity. Have a wonderful day. And I'll just say, God bless America. We certainly need it.